time for another episode. We are through 6 weeks of the college football season. We are heading into week 7, halfway through the college football season.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to hear it that way.
Honestly, October to me is like prime college football. We're into the meat of the schedule. We've got good matchups every single weekend. No offense to September, but we have way too many cupcake games in there that you really need some good non-conference games. Now, when you get into the meat of the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, ACC schedules, we've got great matchups every single week. William, I put together our 10 games for this weekend, and every single one is a single-digit spread. 10
Jake,
games, all with a ranked opponent as a single-digit spread.
You know what else we get this week and next week?
What do we get?
Some action, baby. We got some action, some Conference USA.
I was like, I don't think the MAC starts till November, but I think we got some weekday Conference USA stuff.
We got Wednesday, Missouri State, Middle Tennessee. We got some one point spreads, some one-score spreads. Guys, you're right. This is Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving for college football. You're getting ready for Christmas.
1-4 Liberty versus 1-4 UTEP at a 1.5 point spread.
See, there you go again. There you go again, though. I don't care what their record is. That game is going to be beautifully ugly.
That's my whole thing. It's going to be incredibly ugly. Like, you're going to see some really weird plays. The over-under set at 47.5. I'm going to take the under because it's going to be disgusting. And it's going to be like a 19-13 game, and you're going to have like 2 safeties. It's going to be
19-13, awesome. Good year. That was the year before the U.S. entered World War I. So, fun fact to put in your hat.
I think that was the year after the Titanic, too.
I couldn't tell you about the Titanic. Never seen that movie.
You can skip that one. One. If you're not doing so already, make sure to rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you do so. Follow us on social media at Walk On Red Shirts on any sort of social media platform you use. Check out the walkonredshirts.com. If you're not doing so already, sign up for Squad Blitz, sign up for Battle Bets. You'll see them posted all throughout on all of our social media channels this week. As we get into week 7 here, first thing I want to do a new segment here. We're going to do think and know. Something we both think, something we both know through 6 weeks of the season. William, what is one thing that you think through 6 weeks of the college football season?
So coming into the season, I was probably people probably thought I was a crackhead. People still think I'm a crackhead for other takes, but this take has me looking like Stephen Hawking. Virginia is a defensive adjustment away from being in the ACC championship. Yes, we're only in October, but we're getting into the teeth of conference schedules. Virginia has a top 10 offense. They're top 5 in scoring offense. They can score with anybody, and they beat you in a balanced attack. If that defense gets a little bit better, buddy Jake, that team is legit. That team is legit. They can score with anybody in the FBS. So I think Virginia is a defensive adjustment away from sealing a spot into the ACC championship. And I want to take it a little step further. I think at this point, Virginia has a better shot of being in the ACC championship than Miami does. Oh, that's crazy, William. Virginia has a much easier schedule than Miami does at this point. All they have to do is win out, and they're in there.
I mean, Miami doesn't have a very tough schedule either, if we're being honest. Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt.
Louisville, Pitt.
Yeah, Louisville at home, though. The Pitt game on the road at the end of the year, I'll give you that one. But I think one loss in the ACC, they'll still be in. An interesting fact about this, though, Virginia has one loss to NC State, but that's an out-of-conference game. They scheduled it as an out-of-conference game, so Virginia's undefeated in the ACC. So that one thing to think about when you see that game. Yeah, they're 5-1, but 3-0 in conference.
And you know what else you don't know about a Virginia team? They flushed the toilet after they used the bathroom. One of the biggest headlines coming out of Virginia is that Tony Elliott would go in after the players to make sure everyone's flushed the urinals and the toilets when they were done. And he would tell them a championship roster flushes the toilet for their teammate. If you can't flush the toilet for your teammate, how you going to die for them on 4th and 1? It might be weird, Jake.
It is.
It looks like it's working. It looks like it's working in Charlottesville. Flush your toilets, people. Flush your toilets. And you win.
The one thing I think so far, I think Texas Tech is the most underrated team in college football right now.
Okay.
I think they haven't played a game within 3 touchdowns so far this year. I know that they have played Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State, 3 bad teams. Houston, they beat by 24 points. I know that, or not Houston. Yeah, they beat Houston and Utah each by 24 points. I know Utah, that game was closer and they pulled away at the end. Houston, they just dominated. Absolutely dominated Houston. I mean, they were up 15-3. They were up 22-3, up 25-3 in the second quarter. This game was really never that close. Houston scored and made it 25-11, but Texas Tech added on more points before the end of the game. 35-11 over Houston. I think Texas Tech is the most underrated team in college football. I don't think that they have been truly tested. I think that they just blow everybody out. They play Kansas this weekend, or Kansas Jayhawks. They're 14-point favorites. It's not looking great for Coach Leipold right now with how this Texas Tech team is rolling. That schedule the rest of the way is not that difficult. They go to Arizona State, Kansas State. Obviously, we don't really know what we're getting out of that with Avery Johnson. BYU at home is a big one. But other than that, UCF and West Virginia, they should run through both of those programs as well. There's really, I think the game against Kansas will be tough, but they have it at home. The 2 road games, with Arizona State, Kansas State, and then I think BYU. I really think Texas Tech should at least be 11-1 when they go to the Big 12 championship game. I think that they can almost punch their ticket to the Big 12 championship game at this point.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Go for it.
If Texas Tech is underrated as the 9th best team in the country, where should they be rated?
I don't know if, like, ranking wise, I know this is kind of,
you mean like perception, myself. Like people aren't
yes, perception wise.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Perception wise. Like, I think 9th is fine for them as a ranking right now because Utah is their only good win so far, but I think perception-wise, they're a top 10 team, and I don't think that they get the love that they should as a top 10 program. I think they're still being viewed as like the outsider, the Big 12 team that's kind of trying to make a push, kind of similar to like Indiana a little bit. Like, people still doubt Indiana even after everything they've done. But I think right now, Texas Tech is the most underrated, underappreciated program is the best way to put that.
I like that.
The one thing I know going into this, I think I know that if Michigan beats USC this weekend, their playoff spot will come down to playing Ohio State the last game of the year. Because if they win, I am like pretty confident that Michigan is going to win out until that Ohio State game. And all of a sudden, that game becomes that much more important. They get Washington at home. Washington, obviously, that could be tricky, but they get them at home. Cross-country road trip for Washington. At Michigan State, we'll see. Michigan State on the road. Michigan State is still kind of iffy right there. Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, just chalk those all up as a win. Maryland could be tricky. Game before Ohio State, we saw Maryland a couple years ago give them a run. I think they could be tricky. I do think they win all of those games, though, and I think they're sitting there at 10-1 playing Ohio State if they beat USC. Now, going on the road to USC this weekend, I don't think that'll be easy. USC's favored, but should they win against USC, they'll be 10-1 playing Ohio State.
I like it. One thing I know, Jake. Texas's ceiling this year is to play spoiler. So coming up in the rest of their schedule, obviously they have Oklahoma this weekend. But the rest of their schedule, Jake, I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to make the SEC championship. I don't think they're good enough to even be in that conversation anymore. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with me. But at this point, I'm pulling up their schedule now. They could ruin Oklahoma's season if they beat them this weekend, and that could happen if if the tortilla presser is wrong and the guy at Chipotle was wrong and that John Mateer does not play against Oklahoma or against Texas, excuse me. So they could play spoiler there. They could play spoiler to Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt starts reeling off some wins again, I know they're 20th. They just lost to Alabama, but they could play spoiler to them. They could play spoiler to Georgia. They could ruin their season if Georgia loses a game and then they walk into. I know it's at Athens, so that doesn't help them at all. And then Texas A&M, they could ruin Texas A&M season. That's at home. That's a rivalry game. You can throw out the record books in the rivalry game. So at this point, I think Texas's ceiling is maybe upsetting one of those 4 teams, excuse me.
I would agree with you there. The loss to Florida, I mean, that was a big kicker. They've got 4 ranked teams on the schedule still. I posted today, I think their ceiling's 8-4. Like I really believe their ceiling's 8-4. I think they beat Kentucky. I think they beat Arkansas. That gets them to 5 wins. Mississippi State's not going to be an easy game. Mississippi State has been a tough out so far this year. And then you're talking about Oklahoma and the Red River shootout, rivalry, whatever they call it now. Vanderbilt at Georgia or Texas A&M. I think they can get to 8-4, but I think there are still 2 more losses on this schedule somewhere. That Mississippi State game, to me, I have that circled thinking that could be a difficult one with how Mississippi State has moved the ball on occasions at times, because I'm not confident in Texas's offense right now. All right, let's jump into our recap for this past weekend. First thing we got to start talking about, though, is Penn State getting upset by UCLA. Penn State goes on the road. Obviously, they lost the whiteout to Oregon. Goes on the road to UCLA. And William, this game was bad. This game was bad from the start. Penn State never led in this game. UCLA scores on the opening drive, kicks an onside kick, gets it, goes down, gets a field goal. And before Penn State even gets the ball, they're down 2 scores.
Can I tell you the thing that's making me the most mad? Hey, Penn State people, shout out. I know exactly how you feel right now. Playing a lesser team, you're going, they kick an onside kick after going the first drive and scoring, and then getting the ball back and scoring again. I know how you're feeling right now. Trust me, it just happened a couple weeks ago to me. But the thing that bothers me the most, so James Franklin and Andy Kotelnicki are getting a lot of heat right now, and rightfully so. Where's the heat for Jim Knowles? Because this defense underperformed drastically in this game. I believe Nico had 128 yards rushing. Jake, if I remember correctly,
128 yards on 16 carries.
And you know what? Majority of those were on 3rd down and long. There was a 3rd down and long on a 3rd and goal. I think it was in the 4th quarter, and Nico runs for 15 yards to score a touchdown, or it was at least over 9 yards. That's bad. And you know what was happening? It was happening because Penn State refused to go out of man-to-man. They refused to leave man-to-man. They said, you run the ball, and we don't think you can beat us through the air. Or excuse me, we don't think you can beat us on the ground. So we're just going to go man-to-man, lock your guys down. But what they didn't account for was Nico running the ball as many times as he did. But you'd think a guy like Jim Knowles would make that adjustment. You go back to Ohio State last year, and the only game you can really point to and say that Ohio State didn't make the correct adjustments was probably Oregon in the regular season game.
Because the one in Eugene.
Right. So he's known to be able to make these outstanding adjustments in the game, and he didn't do that here. Is that his one? Is that his gimme? I don't know. But Penn State needs Jim Knowles and that defense to show up, and they absolutely did not. Not only did you let Nico run all over you. Is that his new last name? Nico, I run all over you.
Nico, I run all over you. It's a good one.
And but you allowed 42 points against one of the worst Power 4 teams in all of college football, let alone worst offenses, but worst Power 4 team overall. Baby blue is not a good look for college football teams this year.
Yeah,
Coast,
they showed a stat that this is the first time in over 40 years where a team 0-4 or worse beat a top 10 program.
I want you to tell the stat about the interim coach for UCLA. That one blew my mind.
The
top 10 wins.
Oh, I forget what the exact one was, but it's something in the last however many years. This interim coach now has 1 win over a top 10 program, which is the same amount as James Franklin since like 2017 or something like that. I forget the exact stat.
I'm going to look it up.
But you have Jerry Neuheisel on the other sideline who admitted he didn't know how to work the headset. And Nico saying, I just called my own plays a couple times because he didn't get them in time. And they absolutely were one of the biggest issues for Penn State was Tony Rojas was out. They lose for Tony Rojas during the week, one of the better linebackers in the Big Ten, incredibly athletic, played very well against Oregon, lose him for an extended period of time. So all of a sudden you lose your linebacker who is probably going to be in charge of spying Nico. And Nico had 3rd and 15, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 7, 2nd and 11, and then 3rd and goal from the 7. On those runs, on 3rd and 15, he got 22. On 3rd and 11, he got 20. On 3rd and 7, he got 52. On 2nd and 11, he got 26. And 3rd and goal, he scored from the 7. He scored. I mean, you have over 100 yards on those 5 rushing attempts alone. Just those 5 rushing attempts alone. And he extended drives, gave his team a chance to win. He scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. This is the Nico that we all kind of thought we were going to get, the 5-star quarterback. Really didn't seem like he ever found it really at Tennessee. And for whatever reason, after having a terrible year so far, he had an absolute stellar game through the air, on the ground, and his legs won UCLA the game here.
Can't find the stat, Jake.
I'll see if I can find it. But this was the absolute. Yeah.
Well, if you want to, let's play devil's advocate. Everybody wants to dunk on Andy Kotelnicki again, and I'm coming back to my other point. No one's blaming the DC, at least not enough people, and everyone's blaming the OC. There were some adjustments made at halftime. I mean, and Penn State was able to score 35 points. It was a 7-point game.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with Drew Aller did not give up. That dude fought his tail off. And everybody wants to blame.
Nothing here is to blame Drew Aller. Like, Drew Aller is not the problem with this. He was making plays on the ground. He was the leading rusher at 78 rushing yards for Penn State. Only had 7 incompletions, no turnovers. Like, he played a pretty solid game.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in the defense, because the defense is what Penn State relies on. And the offense is supposed to be a little sputtering, but does just enough to win games. Is it the travel? Is it the hangover from the Oregon game? Is it
James Franklin blaming the travel was the most tone-deaf response I heard.
Oh,
saying travel. No Penn State fan wants to hear your excuse being travel. That you had to
happened
go
last week. What happened last week, Jake? Oregon
came the whole way across the country and beat you. You weren't playing at 11 p.m.
In a whiteout, the toughest home environment ever. You went to UCLA and played against freaking the kids who walked in from off the street seat that came in for a cheap hot dog, and the family members.
It was most of your own family members at the game. You're basically playing a high school game. So it's not like it was a hostile environment. I do have problems with Andy Kotelnicki, though, with how he called this game. The final offensive play.
I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate.
Oh, yeah. The final offensive play, the QB read, draw, whatever that play call was, to me, Kaytron Allen had 8 carries for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why he is still getting less carries than Nick Singleton, who has been averaging like 2.5, 3 yards a carry like the last handful of games, is so confusing, because Kaytron Allen runs violently. He's a way better at running the ball. He's only getting 8 carries a game. He had less carries than Drew Aller. Now, I know some of those are scrambles, so they're not designed runs.
Still.
But to me, 4th and 2, you need to score a touchdown, and you're doing a QB draw, or you're doing a read handoff to the wide receiver.
Right. This team is built to run the damn ball, and they are not doing it, and they're not doing it with their best guy. This tells me a couple things. Either one, Andy Kotelnicki is banging his head up against a concrete wall, hoping it cracks, by thinking that Nick Singleton, he's gonna play call Nick Singleton out of a slump. Or 2 things: Kaytron Allen is hurt, or Kaytron Allen is in the doghouse for some reason.
I think part of it is a James Franklin thing. Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen are his guys. They've been there for 4 years. He's not all of a sudden going to go to Nick Singleton and be like, "You look, dude, you are legitimate running back 2. Like, you're down to 5 carries a game." But the thing is, he should, because
he's doing it to Kaytron Allen.
I know.
If Kaytron Allen's not touching the ball 10 times a game, you're an idiot, in my opinion.
He should be touching it 15 times at least on the ground.
Correct. 8 times a game.
I don't understand
for a Heisman potential, like for a Heisman candidate running back from last year. Nick Singleton's good too, but like you have to go with the hot hand. And if one's hot, you ride that hand, and you hope Nick Singleton's able to spell them and get hot at some point during the year.
Katron Allen's averaging 7 yards per carry. He has 54 carries on the year. That is unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable.
What's Nick Singleton averaging, and how many carries does he have?
So this is going to probably make some people. Nick Singleton has 63 carries, so he's got more carries for 3.8 yards per carry. Nick Singleton's longest rush of the year is 16 yards. 16 yards. The guy who last year was, he's a home run threat at any given time, and his long is 16 yards, and he's got 239 yards. These are two guys that before the year we said could break Penn State's rushing records because they both just needed 1,000 yards. Nick Singleton's going to be lucky to get to 700 yards at this pace.
So is Katron Allen.
Yeah, Katron Allen's going to do it, though, on like 40. He'll do it on another 50 carries because he just is averaging 7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
This is incredibly frustrating. Penn State fans are obviously very annoyed. This was an unacceptable loss, especially for where they are, the program expectations. I mean, their playoff hopes as they are on life support. They are not officially dead because if they go and they beat Ohio State in Columbus, if they beat Indiana, if they beat Iowa, they'll finish 10-2. They're not going to make the Big Ten championship game, but a win over Indiana and a win over Ohio State will go a long way. It probably still gets them in the playoffs at 10-2, but we saw Illinois lose to Northern Illinois, so it's not like you can forgive bad losses if you start playing better. So this is absolutely a stain on the program, and I mean, they're getting to a point where you think they have to make a change because I'm not, I know I'm wearing an Ohio State hat right now, but I'm relaying everything that you see from all the Penn State fans online right now, that they're ready for Franklin to be done. They're ready for him to be done. You bring back all this talent. You bring back all these players. You bring in the highest paid coordinators. You have everything at your disposal, and you suffer arguably the worst loss in your programs, or at least in your 10-year history, with the most talented roster you've ever had.
Yeah.
There's just not enough. There's not an excuse. Ultimately, it comes down to the guy, the head coach. It comes down to him. Doesn't matter. Knowles, Kotelnicki, Drew Aller, Katron Allen. It all comes down to James Franklin, and everything falls on him. And it really feels like.
Go ahead.
I would say it really feels like we're coming to a mutual parting of ways at some point where it's going to become a toxic environment there, and James Franklin's going to be like, you know what? For me, I know that they can pay me $50 million to fire me. Do I really want to stick around just to make a little bit more money, or do I just go and take another job where I can make $8-9 million a year? At Florida, at a Virginia Tech, or whatever program, Arkansas. There's be more that open up to. You never know. Like a South Carolina, if they fire Beamer, if they go on a terrible stretch here, does he go and does he do that? Virginia Tech honestly makes a ton of sense. I think he would absolutely crush it at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and before we move on, I want to give UCLA some flowers too, because you were able to hold on and make the correct adjustments. You're 0-4. Your guys didn't quit. This is a rollover game, Jake. This is a game where you're like, whatever. We're going to come out there. We're going to get some pictures with some guys before the game. I'm going to look clean in my outfit, and I'm going to look clean after the game. Dap up my girlfriend after the game, whatever. We know we're about to get our teeth kicked in. No, they didn't roll over. UCLA could have quit, and they didn't, and hats off to that team. You know what? I couldn't even tell you the interim coach's name. Couldn't even tell you.
I looked at it today. It's the former Fresno State coach from last year.
But
it is Tim Skipper. Tim
Skipper. The thing that they did best was almost double Penn State's rushing yards. Again, but you take away the 128 from Nico, two of their running backs, 14 carries, 63 yards, 16 carries, 60 yards. They were so bounced. They were running with everybody. It didn't matter who it was. So you want to blame Jim Knowles for not making an adjustment? Good Lord. Where was your defensive line? Where were your linebackers? Y'all were getting mollywopped by a team that lost to New Mexico. This is, I mean, it's abysmal. And shout out to Landon Tingwall. He does an amazing job over at the Landon Tingwall show. covering Penn State majority, and he's been trying to tell everybody that this Penn State offensive line has been pretty weak. And I think he got exposed in a big, big way this weekend. In a big, big way. Again, not to keep throwing dirt on Penn State. I want to make sure we give UCLA their flowers. UCLA did what they needed to do. They didn't turn the ball over. I don't think they had a fumble. Nico did not throw a pick. Nico also didn't do that much. You talk about when Nico had his best games at Tennessee, it was when he ran the ball a lot. How many yards do you think he threw for in this game, Jake?
Oh, he threw for like $150. It wasn't anything crazy.
166. So
yeah,
same old, same old. Nico's going to Nico. But Penn State, where you at? What you doing?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, they shouldn't roll over Northwestern, but Northwestern beat this UCLA team, and you never know. How are they going to rally the troops? Are they going to be ready to go, or is Northwestern going to come in there and give them a fight that they shouldn't be fighting?
Yeah, there could be some quit in them.
Let's talk about Bama takes down Vandy. This game was close through the first about 3 quarters or so. Bama pulls away late. You thought Vandy would win. I had Alabama covering this spread here. When I look back at this,
that was the most bullcrap cover on the planet. Alabama did not have to score again. That was bullcrap.
They just wanted to. They just wanted to because of last year. They wanted to just cover the spread.
Yeah, whatever.
They knew what it was. Early in this game, it looks like Vandy was going to give them a fight. Vandy goes up 14-7 before the half. Alabama goes down under 2 minutes, scores a touchdown, makes it 14-all. Vandy doesn't score again. There's a couple incidents that definitely changed the game. There's a fumble inside the 10 by Diego Pavia. He has multiple turnovers. The fumble inside the 10 when you're going down trying to score definitely hurts. You're leaving points on the board, especially in this kind of game. You can't be doing that. One interesting stat when I was looking at this, there was only 6 rushing attempts by someone not named Diego Pavia. And Cedric Alexander had a 60-yard run to kick off the game, in the first quarter to score a touchdown. I was surprised that they did not try to run the ball with anybody other named Diego Pavia. This game was fairly close, but they could not move the ball to start the second half at all.
No, they really couldn't. And, to go back to Diego Pavia and being, someone that was running the ball a lot. You live by Diego Pavia, you die by Diego Pavia. And the biggest, when we talked about this last week, I said that Diego Pavia gets very careless with the ball. And if he gets careless and Alabama takes advantage of it, it's over. And sure enough, Diego Pavia had 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, and that fumble was crucial. The fumble was crucial. I believe it was inside the 10-yard line. And Vanderbilt was in this game. And again, if you don't have Diego Pavia, you're not in the game. So do you really get that mad at how he plays? I don't know. But if Diego Pavia continues to be this careless, you're going to lose some games that you probably shouldn't. But with how dynamic he is when he plays that careless, you're going to beat some teams that you shouldn't. And they almost did this to Bama. You look at the game and you're like, well, it was 30-14, Jake? What was the final score?
Yeah, 30-14, but it was 20-14, and Vandy threw an interception. They were inside the red zone and threw an interception.
2 turnovers in the red zone is crucial, and you take those 2 away, Vanderbilt at least ties the game with 2 field goals. So
yeah, they're in this game for sure. The score does not show the final of what this was.
The thing that makes me the most annoyed about this Vanderbilt team is they're not getting their flowers because they don't have a Maze M on their helmet or a white Longhorn or something that's more recognizable. If they had a gold helmet, they would be a top 10 team, and they would probably have just fallen to 12 from losing to Alabama. Instead, they're at 20, and this team beat the ever-living dog crap out of South Carolina. They went toe-to-toe with this Bama team, and they've handled business in every other game they've played. So why are we not giving Vanderbilt more love? I think this team deserves to be a top 15 team right now with this loss.
Yeah, and I don't think you can count them out of the playoff yet. This one loss does not count them out. I mean, they still have LSU, Missouri, Texas as their next 3 games. They have a bye week this week, chance to get things right. 2 home games between LSU and Missouri. We'll see what Texas is at that point. If Texas is checked out, you never know what you're going to get. Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, there's going to be a year where a 9-3 team makes the playoff. I don't think Vandy will because, like you said, the logo on that helmet, I think they're going to have to at least be 10-2. If they're 10-2 with wins over programs like LSU, Missouri, or Tennessee, 2 out of those 3, and they win everything else, I mean, they should be absolutely right there in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, and they have every opportunity. There's nothing that's going to keep this team away from the SEC championship, except for other teams going undefeated in the SEC. And I don't know if I can see that.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be, beating up within the SEC. Alabama, though, Alabama looks good. Jam Miller breaks out for 136 yards. Ty Simpson just continues to shred defenses. Just continues to find his guys. I mean, when you got Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, and Ryan Williams, my goodness, it makes your life a lot easier when you got those 3 guys going out for passes.
It really does. And I think you start to see Ryan Williams is starting to get his confidence back. He was playing with some swag to him this game. But Ty Simpson, he threw for over 300 yards. I think it was 328. But the biggest headline should be Jam Miller going for 136. Not just because it was 136 yards, but because this Alabama offensive rushing attack has been putrid up until this game. Absolutely abysmal. I think they averaged 2 yards a carry against Georgia and somehow won the game. They averaged 2 yards a carry against Florida State and lost that game. They finally stepped. Was this the offensive line, or is Jam Miller really that much better than everybody else? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. I think having Jam Miller, first game, against Georgia, obviously not the easiest game to come back for. Vanderbilt seems like he gets a little bit more confidence there. Has a long of 22 yards, gets it going a little bit, scores a touchdown. I think having Jam Miller allows them to do a little bit more, and I think Ty Simpson can rely on Jam Miller a little bit more, which makes him feel a little more confident as well. I'll be interested to see how Alabama does this weekend because they're in the middle of a gauntlet right now where they have Missouri on the road this week, and then they get Tennessee. They still have LSU and Oklahoma on the schedule, and then they end the game at Jordan-Hare for Auburn. Alabama is not out of the woods by any means. Like you said, going undefeated, they could lose this weekend in Missouri. This is obviously a prime letdown spot for them.
Hey, to turn the rails off really quickly, random question for you, Jake. Who's the 3rd highest rated running back in terms of PFS? Which PFS and college, I don't know if y'all follow them. They do a really good job of stat collecting and rating. They're like that. They're the biggest competitor to PFF. So, just who has been the 3rd highest rated running back in all of college football this year?
Will you give me the first 2?
The first 2 are Jonah Coleman, Washington, and Fluff Bothwell, Mississippi State.
It's got to be Ahmad Hardy then.
Nope, Ahmad Hardy is 10th, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 11th.
Okay,
Jeremiah Love is 10th.
That threw my guess completely off because I thought that was a for sure thing. Who is it?
Adam Randall.
The wide receiver.
The wide receiver playing running back at Clemson. Just to be mad for a second, if I would have told you that he was the 3rd highest rated running back in all of college football this year, 6 weeks in, you would tell me, well, if I told you that coming into the year, you would have said, William, y'all are beating everybody by 20.
Instead, you have 3 losses.
Yeah, it pisses me off. Let's move on.
Miami Surges, they beat Florida State. This game was 28-22, but it really was not that close. It was 28-3 in the 4th quarter. Florida State, a little too late for this. They didn't score their first touchdown until 10 minutes left in the game, and it was 28-11 with 4 minutes left in the game as well. This game was never really that close.
Well, I feel like Miami's been doing this to all the teams they've played this year, Jake. I feel like they start off slow in the first quarter, and they come on strong in the second and third, and then they let off the gas a little bit and let the team come back in the 4th. The only team they hadn't done that against is Bethune-Cookman, and I think USF they was never really a game. But when you look at Notre Dame first quarter.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they had to fight back, and I want to think part of that is on Notre Dame as well as, I mean, Miami let them back in, but I think part of that was also on, I mean, they didn't let Jeremiah Love touch the ball, which was kind of crazy.
I get it, but look at Florida State, same thing. They're dead, and then it's a 1-score game in the 4th quarter. Now, I don't think they
Florida they put away pretty early too. Florida never.
That's
really
true. That's true. I forgot about. Well, no, it was 13-7 or 13-6 at halftime, was it not? Against Florida.
It was 13-7 in the third quarter, but then Miami just put them away. They scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And they put them away. Florida didn't move the ball well at all against Miami. I mean, they had 140 yards. Miami's offense just took a little while to get going there. This one, I mean, Miami kind of killed them a little bit slowly. Malachi Toney has been a superstar for them. True freshman, that is just one of the most exciting players in college football. Toney had 7 catches for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. They had one that was a slant, and he just weaved through the defense for like 40 yards. The biggest thing to me on this one is Miami was still they struggled to run the ball a little bit. It took them a while to get going because they could not get the ball moved on the ground. Mark Fletcher had 12 carries for 40 yards. Jordan Lyle had 7 carries for 18 yards. Sharmar Brown had 8 carries for 19 yards, all under 3.5 yards per carry. Ones where they couldn't reliably move the ball. Eventually, they just started airing it out. Carson Beck went 20-27 for 241, 4 touchdowns. They just said, screw it, we'll give it to our receivers, and they made plays. Tommy Castellanos threw this ball 45 times. I know that they were coming back, so they had to throw it. To me, the big thing, though, they struggled running the ball. And Florida State, they ran for a couple hundred yards the last few games, and they could not get a reliable running attack going. Gavin Sawchunk was 11 carries, 47 yards. Chroma was 6 carries, 23 yards. They just could not get that going. Tommy Castellanos, to me, had a little too much happy feet in this game. It seemed like he got a little bit anxious at times, and if the first read wasn't quite there, he was taking off and running. Or the first time a guy, instead of stepping up in the pocket, and trying to still look downfield, first time that a defender was getting back there, he was just taking off and going. I know Miami's got a good defensive line.
Can you blame him when you're 5'5", 100 pounds soaking wet, and you're playing against that Miami defensive line? I think he would get happy feet.
Yeah, when Ruben Bain is moving as well as he does at 270 pounds, yeah, that is kind of scary, I will say.
It's not that hard to get around Ruben Bain. Just hit him. Just hit him.
Yeah. Tommy Castellanos, if he tried to hit Ruben Bain, he'd probably fall backwards to 5 yards.
Hypothetically, I would shut down Ruben Bain. Hypothetically. And no one can argue this because
is this when you were 18 and then he was playing football in like Pee Wee? That's when you would have stopped him?
Yes. Okay. Locked him down. In 2015, he would not have – so 2015, how old was he in 2015?
Let's call him 21 years old, so we'll call him 11.
Oh, I would have locked him down. Easy.
Yeah.
Put that down.
Yeah.
I would have locked his behind down in 2015.
We're going to clip this and just say where you said you would lock him down.
And then put just like the Penn State stat and then in really tiny letters in 2015.
Yeah. We'll make sure that we do that. There was one time that Tommy Castellanos, it was 3rd and 21. It was still the first half. His first read wasn't there and he took off running. Obviously, he didn't get anything, got like 5 yards. And to me, that was the epitome of what he was trying to do. It was, well, if it's not there, I'm just going to run. But when it's 21 yards, you're not going to get there. And not that you should be expecting to get 21 yards, but you would like if a guy got 10 or 11, maybe made a move. It didn't feel like Castellanos was comfortable at all throughout the night. And when they finally moved the ball, it was too little too late.
Yep.
Bill Belichick is terrible. And now they're canceling the Hulu special. And at what point does North Carolina just say, we're done?
So I wanted to throw this in there. I know this, I can get a little Clemson bias, so I'll keep it short and sweet. Bill Belichick, through 6 games, 0 Power 4 wins. His offense, he's only played 4 Power 4 teams. The other 2 teams are Richmond and Charlotte. With those 2 teams included, offensive rankings, 128th points per game, 132nd yards per game, 128th rushing yards per game, and 114th passing yards per game. All right. Defense, 99th points per game, 98th yards per game, 43rd rushing yards per game. Good job, rush defense. And 126 passing yards per game. This is historically bad. This isn't bad. This is historically bad. You have one bright spot, and that's your rushing yards per game defense. One bright spot. And the fact that games have to end after 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Unless you
I don't know. I don't know if they'll make the move.
They won't because there's so much money involved.
Yeah, they'd have to pay him $20 million. Somebody said today that, asked what his buyout is if he goes to the NFL. It's like $1 million. He can basically leave whenever he wants. But I don't see an NFL team coming for a 75-year-old head coach who now has a sideshow and is failing at the college level. Can't imagine that's happening. I think they give him one more year. They give him the boot next year, see what the buyout is after one more year. And it's just not a good situation. And I could see them finding a reason to fire him. But I mean, $20 million, yes, it's a lot, but also if it's that bad, you might have boosters come and go, look, we screwed up. We need to go and do an actual search and not bring in Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into our week 7 preview games. We got 3 games here, but we've got our walk on weekly 10 here coming up. First game here, we have Indiana, number 7 Indiana, traveling on the road to play Oregon this weekend. Obviously, a very big matchup, arguably the biggest game. I guess at this point, I would say it's the biggest game of the Big Ten season. We thought it'd be Penn State and Oregon, and now Penn State's not good. But this game definitely holds the balance of power here because if Oregon wins this game, they probably are going to sleepwalk their way back to the Big Ten championship game.
Similar ranking, right? Wasn't Penn State 3rd and Oregon 7th when they played?
I think it might have been 6th, but yes, I think it was very similar.
Pretty similar.
For Indiana, what are their keys to pulling off this upset this weekend?
So Indiana, believe it or not, is 5th in the country in rushing offense and 36th in the country in passing offense. So be balanced. Be you. Attacking them in a multitude of ways. Whatever's winning, roll with it. If you're getting hot on the running game, stick with it. Don't try to get cute. Do what works. Be balanced. Number 2, tell your 17th ranked rush defense to strap those damn chin straps up tight. You're going to have to get physical at the line of scrimmage because Oregon has a top 5 rushing offense. They're lethal. And what's funny is, what makes it crazy is Malachi. Oh my gosh, what's his last name? The running back who transferred from Tulane. Malachi Hughes. Malachi Hughes is not the reason that running game is so good. He's redshirting, which is insane to me. And then 3rd, quiet the crowd early with long drives. Jake, just steal one of the stats that you put in there to steal your thunder just a little bit. Indiana is 3rd in the country in time of possession. If you want to win on the road in a hostile environment, especially in one like Autzen Stadium, you've got to hold onto the football and get that crowd out of it. Sustained drives kill fan bases. Kill them.
Oh yeah. A 14, 15 play drive that ends up in a touchdown that eats 7.5 minutes of the clock. That will take the crowd out of the game because there's the exhaustion of, well, they converted on 3rd down again. They converted on 3rd down again. Oh, it was 2nd and 7, and now they've got 15 yards. I agree. Indiana's got to find a way to take that crowd out of that game. Like you said, for one of my stats, Oregon, you have to find a way to stall these Indiana drives. They're 3rd in time possession in the country. How can you force them to get a 3 and out or only get 1 first down? You cannot let them have these long sustained drives. Have them, milk 6, 7, 8 minutes of the clock and score a touchdown. How can you get the ball back in 2.5, 3 minutes? Every time they have the ball, keep it less or have the ball longer than them, because if Indiana's going to wear down your defense like that, we saw at the end of the game against Penn State where Oregon's defense looked absolutely gassed when Penn State went down the field and took a while to score. You've got to get that offense off the field faster. You talked about the run, talked about being balanced. You've got to stop the run. Indiana blew out Illinois because of their rushing attack. Iowa was able to keep it close by only allowing Indiana to average 2.7 yards per carry.
Yep.
How can you force them in that unbalanced, force Mendoza to be the guy that goes, throw 35, 38 times in a game? Because if they have to throw that many times, I'm not as confident in Indiana being able to score. And then finally, last one, the Sandra Bullock, run the dang ball. You're averaging 6.2 yards per carry. Get Hill, Lamar, and Whittington involved early. We saw them against Penn State. Hill looked great, found holes, 8-yard runs, 9-yard runs, 12-yard runs. Your team can move the ball running the ball. Obviously, Dante Moore can move as well. I don't want to rely on him. Obviously, he can make some plays when needed to, but these running backs, get them involved. And another one, bonus one, get to Corian Moore the ball some way, somehow, in creative ways. Doesn't have to be, 25-yard routes down the field. Screen passes, end arounds. He's one of the most explosive players in the country. And if you can get him the ball, he probably needs, I think, anywhere from 8 to 10 touches in the game, however you want to get it to him. But if you give him 8 to 10 touches, I think he'll do something special. What do you think?
He did it against Oregon, or against Penn State, excuse me.
Yeah.
He does it against Oregon every day. No, so yeah, the more you get your playmakers involved, that's how you win ball games. And
absolutely,
to kind of reinforce one of your stats with Iowa, I'm pretty sure Oregon's defensive front is a lot better than Iowa's. No offense, Iowa. But if Iowa's able to keep Indiana under 3 yards per carry, Oregon has the potential to do that. And if you make Indiana might be balanced. If you make them one-dimensional, it hurts. So you take away the run. Yes, they're the fifth-ranked rush defense or rush offense. If you take that away, and yes, they are ranked very high, 36 in pass offense. You take away the rush attack, the passing offense is going to be punished. You take away the passing game, the running attack is going to be punished. The reason they are so good offensively is because they are good at both. They're able to do both. If Oregon can take away one of those lines, it's going to be very difficult for that Indiana team, especially on the road, to come out successful.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Oregon defensive line, the Barry Alexanders, the Mateo Uyunglele's, these guys that they are going to be the difference maker, because if they can stop that and clog the middle like they did against Penn State, then I think they can put this game away. Not early. I think this is going to go a while. I think this game will go down to the wire.
I think so too. Barry Alexander just transferred from week 6 to week 7.
Ooh. I just saw it was his birthday the other day. Dan Lanning posted about his birthday.
He's going to transfer that birthday.
Yeah, he just transferred up a year.
He just transferred up a year. Dude loves to transfer.
Second game we got here, we just talked about Illinois, but Ohio State travels out to Illinois this weekend, number 1 versus number 16, I think. The number 16. Depending on what 17, depending on what poll you look at. If you look at the,
what are they in the all podcasters poll?
Yeah, if you want to know what they are in the all podcasters poll, they're actually 19th. We have them at 19. Number 2 versus number 19 in the all podcasters poll. Ohio State, I think the keys to this game are, will the defense ever show any cracks? And if they do, how are they going to respond? So far, this defense has been the best in the country, pretty much bar none. They're number 1 in scoring defense. They only allowed like 140 yards to Minnesota last weekend. They haven't shown any cracks. And will they show any? And if so, how are they going to respond? If they start seeing that there's, a gap or a liability, how are they going to respond to that?
I don't want to hear it. As long as Caleb Downs is back there, there's no cracks in that freaking defense.
They've got Arvell Reese, too, who might be one of the best linebackers in the country as well.
Is he a linebacker or edge rusher?
He's technically a linebacker because they only play 2 linebackers. But he kind of is the do everything. You need him to pass rush, he'll do that. You need him to go into coverage, he'll do that. You want him to go and get water, I'll bet you he's the best at that too.
Me. He's not better than Caleb Downs.
He's not. He's probably. Anyways, Illinois' pass defense is 131st in 10-yard pass plays.
Oof.
You've got to let Sayin just rip it. They're 99th in 20-plus yard plays. You got to let Sayin rip it. I mean, you've got Jeremiah Smith, you've got Carnell Tate, you've got Max Clare. You've just got to let him rip it against this defense if they're going to allow those big plays.
You could have stopped at Jeremiah Smith. Just that stat alone just tells me he's going to eat this weekend.
And Illinois' offense ranks 90th in touchdown percentage. Ohio State's defense ranks first. They still
red zone touchdown.
Yeah, red zone defense. Yeah, red zone touchdown percentage. Illinois' offense is 90th in the country. Ohio State's red zone defense is first in basically every category.
Yeah, you watch them; they stop people every weekend on the 1 yard line. So Illinois, like I said, you better strap them chin straps up, buddy. It's going to be tough.
What are your keys for Illinois to try to win this game?
My first one is Ohio State to not play the game. But because they're going to play the game, rely on Luke Altmaier's veteran leadership. They're 37th in pass offense. Lean on it. Let Luke Altmaier be Luke Altmaier. He's gotten you this far. He's gotten Illinois to the heights that they are right now. Yes, you want to give a lot of credit to Brett Bielema, and he deserves it. The defense has been pretty stout, but Luke Altmaier has been the biggest game changer for that team. Let him be that guy. Let him lead the team. Let him lead the offense. Throw that ball to Hank Beatty. Hank Beatty is a really good wide receiver.
Hank Beatty might be the best wide receiver people don't talk about.
Yes. He is the Texas Tech of wide receivers.
Yeah. Very underappreciated. Can do a lot with the ball. I believe he is the Big Ten's leading receiver statistically right now. And I believe he also plays in the return game as well.
He does. He's had a punt return for a touchdown.
So they find ways to get him the ball. And they make sure that their best playmaker, gets it. I think one thing about Luke Altmaier we were talking about, I believe he's going to be the best quarterback Ohio State may face in their regular season.
Do y'all play against Oregon?
No, they don't play Oregon. Unless you're talking about Drew Aller, which no, not right now. Nico, probably not. Bryce Underwood, we'll see. But other than that, it's been Parker Navarro, Drake Lindsey, and
Parker Navarro is the best quarterback.
Parker Navarro is good, but obviously the talent around him is not the same that it is at Illinois right now.
No, you're right.
Luke Altmaier has a chance to actually test this secondary that I don't want to say hasn't been tested yet, but hasn't gotten a true pocket passer that can sling it like this.
Yeah. My second point stays about in the same realm. Stay away from Caleb Downs. If you have a desired matchup, make some changes, make some motions, get the desired matchup away from Caleb Downs' side, right? You've got to know where the playmakers are on the defense. You got to know who your playmakers are, but you got to know who the defense is, especially when you're in Illinois playing against an Ohio State. You don't want to ever think you're overmatched, but you have to understand that when you're playing Ohio State, they've got dudes everywhere, and you've got to beat them by keeping your wits about you. Trying to attack Caleb Downs because you like your guy is foolish. He makes everybody pay. Stay away from him. Same thing. Arnell Reese, trap him, make him run up if he's rushing the passer, use that against you to your advantage. Throw a screen on that side. Do some things that are matchup savvy to help yourself get away from their key players. Now, Ohio State is littered with key players, but those two key players you really, really, really want to try to stay away from. So don't be dumb. Don't be prideful. Know who your guys are, but know who their guys are too. And then third, make Ohio State beat you on the ground. They're the 57th ranked rush offense. They've been middle of the pack okay in the running game. CJ Donaldson and who's the running back? Bo Jackson has come on a little late, but I'm telling you, if you want to keep in this game, you got to make Ohio State beat you on the ground. Drop 7, drop 8, make them run the ball. Ohio State will be successful, but I mean, when you're that bad on giving up 10 plus yards and 20 plus yards pass plays, you have to give yourself as much help as possible. I would rather get beat by Bo Jackson than Jeremiah Smith. And I think I would rather put my money on losing to Bo Jackson than I would Jeremiah Smith. So again, know what you're good at, know what they're good at, and try to help yourself out in that scenario.
Yeah, if they commit 7 to the box and say we're going to put Jeremiah 1-on-1 or Carnell Tate 1-on-1,
it's over.
It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day if they're going to let either of those guys get 1-on-1 matchups, because you know how it's going to end. That's not any indication on Illinois could have incredibly talented defensive backs, but Ohio State has the best tandem of wide receivers in the country right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alabama, Missouri. This game seems to be flying under the radar a little bit as a top 15 matchup. Missouri obviously doesn't have the most battle tested so far. Alabama has been running through a gauntlet, it feels like, so far, playing Georgia, playing Vanderbilt, and playing Florida State already this year. Meanwhile, Missouri has, I don't want to say, been able to sleepwalk, but they've had a lighter schedule. UMass, South Carolina, Kansas, Louisiana, Central Arkansas. Alabama's their first real matchup of, first big time matchup before they get into the heavy SEC play here. Bo Perbula, we're going to see what he's all about. Tell me, what are Missouri's keys to trying to win this game at home?
Like earlier I said, Illinois needs to rely on Luke Altmaier and his veteran leadership.
Yeah.
Missouri needs to rely on their defense and its leadership. They're the second best defense in the country, first in rush defense, 10th in pass defense. Regardless of who you play, regardless of how difficult or not difficult your schedule is, that high overall defense is not something to blink at, especially when you're going into week 7. You've established yourself as probably one of the best units in the country. Understand that about yourself. Don't be afraid to make this a field position battle. Don't be afraid to sit back and try to suffocate that Alabama offense and let your offense take its time to kind of get rolling. You don't have to blitz. You don't have to make those big time plays if you slow down Alabama and make them stall out drives. So rely on your defense. Make it a nasty, ugly game, because I think an ugly game will favor Missouri in this situation. Number 2, take shots up to turnovers. So in the same breath where I'm telling you to be a little bit more conservative, maybe defensively, on offense, when you get your shots, take it. When you get that momentum, take advantage of that momentum. Momentum swings in college football are so real. If you force a fumble, if you force a pick, take a shot. Try to go after a big play, okay? Especially if you're playing a field position game and you're trying to make it ugly, taking a shot is going to be vital to get into scoring position, whether it be field goals or touchdowns, right? And then don't let the logo beat you. Just because you're Missouri, you're little old Missouri, you haven't really been relevant since you joined the SEC. That first year you make the SEC championship game, haven't really done anything since. You've been okay.
They made the Cotton Bowl a couple years ago.
But then they played in Ohio State that didn't have anybody on the roster anymore. So they were good that year, don't get me wrong, but they haven't been consistently relevant. But you know who has is Alabama. So don't go in there and try to not be who you are because you're playing against a logo, because you're playing against a top 10 team with the A on their helmet. Or, excuse me, numbers on their helmet, A on their chest. So don't let that logo beat you. Don't be somebody else because you're playing somebody else.
Yeah, I went and looked, and Missouri is like the top in every statistical category so far this year, which you have to take seriously. Well, even some of their offensive categories, they're some of the best too. But, you take that seriously because, doesn't matter who you're playing, you still have to produce and win those games like that. But also, UMass, Central Arkansas, some of these are not the best opponents. One thing that stood out to me, though, is turnovers. Alabama has forced 9 turnovers so far this year, and they've only given up 1. Missouri is net even with having 4 takeaways and 4 giveaways. How can Alabama win the turnover battle? I know that's a cliche one, but if you can win the turnover battle, +1, +2, you've got a really good shot at winning this game. I think you need to keep feeding Jam Miller. Obviously, you found something, you were able to get him going. He had over 130 yards last week. How do you keep him going? How do you help your offense out by having that rushing attack? You have your talented wide receivers, but it makes it a lot easier if there's a threat of a rushing attack. If you've got no threat of a rushing attack, it's going to be harder for Ty Simpson to get it to Jeremy Bernard, to get it to Ryan Williams, to get it to Isaiah Horton. I'm not saying Jam Miller needs to go for 130, but if Jam Miller averages 5.5 yards a carry, breaks 1 or 2, 10, 12, 15-yard runs and makes it a threat, it's going to make Ty Simpson's day a lot easier. And you need to get stops on third downs. Missouri leads the country converting over 31% or 61%, 61% of their third down attempts. I mean, if they're going to convert every 3 of 5, that is going to help them extend drives. You've got to find a way to get that under 50%. If you can force punts, force them to turn over on downs at some points, you've got a really good shot to win this game. All right, that's our keys to the game for our 3 primary games. Let's talk about our spiciest take of the week. Sponsored by Gridiron Spice. Just like college football takes, Gridiron Spice brings bold flavor to every meal. From their varsity signature blend to the fiery hot route and Cajun-inspired go long, these seasonings are built for game day. Head to gridironspiceco.com. Use code WALKON for 10% off your order. Gridiron Spice, where football meets flavor. Recap of our picks last week. I said Cincinnati beats Iowa and is considered a Big 12 contender. Cincinnati did beat Iowa State. Cincinnati did beat Iowa State. Beat the Cyclones at home.
Big 12? Would you consider them a Big 12 contender after that?
I mean, I would consider them a Big 12 contender.
There's 8 Big 12 contenders, so absolutely.
I mean, basically everybody that has a win other in the conference except Kansas State is a Big 12 contender. Kansas State already has 2 losses. Everybody else only has 1. But yeah, Utah, TCU, Houston, I guess, Arizona, Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Arizona State, Texas Tech, BYU, all contenders. But Cincinnati's now 2-0 in conference, which is big, very big. And Cincinnati only plays one ranked team on the schedule. They have UCF this weekend, Oklahoma State. They should get to 4-0. When they're sitting at 4-0, there may only be 1 or 2 other teams sitting there at 4-0 with them. So I would consider them a potential legitimate contender for the Big 12. You said Diego Pavia would continue his reign over the state of Alabama and go 5-0. He's now 4-1. So unfortunately, you were wrong.
Yeah, but that was close. I was close. The last 3 weeks I've been close. I think this is the week I get it, though.
I am going to take Auburn to knock off Georgia this week. I think Georgia has been inconsistent. This game's at Jordan-Hare. Weird things tend to happen at Jordan-Hare.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a game where Hugh Freeze is back against the wall. The season isn't going kind of how he wanted it so far. You know, there's been some letdown moments. I think Auburn knocks off Georgia.
I don't see that as that far-fetched because I think that Auburn defense is that legit. And I think that the Auburn defense will keep them in this game. It all depends on what Arnold can
Jackson
do.
Arnold.
Jackson Arnold can do. Thank you. If Jackson Arnold comes in there and is able to run the ball and move the ball against this Georgia defense, which a couple of offenses had, i.e. Alabama, Tennessee, I think it's possible. So I like that, Jake. I like that spicy take.
They've lost the last 2 games by 6 points. I think at minimum they're in this, but I'm going to take Auburn to win the game.
I like it. Let them get over the hump.
Tell me about yours.
I think 2 top 12 teams lose this weekend. 2.
Okay.
Dare I say 3? But I think, you know what? Let's keep it at 2. I don't want to go too spicy.
Well,
I'm
going to point this out that you're guaranteed at least 1 because Indiana and Oregon.
Right. Let's say 3. I'm not going to be a cheapo. Let's say 3 top 10, top 12 teams lose this weekend. I think Indiana can beat Oregon. I think Missouri beats Alabama, and then it's a toss-up. And I think it's either going to be Georgia or Oklahoma. Unfortunately, I love my Sooners. I've been really high on the Sooners this year. I don't think Mateer is healthy. I think Texas can make it ugly enough. I think Oklahoma ends up winning that game. I might lean towards you. This might be a little like if you win, I win with Georgia and Auburn. But let's go 3. I think Alabama, Oregon, and Georgia might. There's my spicy take.
That Oklahoma game is going to come down to John Mateer. Does he play? Is the Chipotle employee correct, or is he a liar? That's what it's coming down.
I disagree. I think it's whoever defense plays better, regardless of who plays quarterback, because I think Oklahoma's defense is so damn good this year.
All right, let's get into our walk-on weekly 10 presented by Battle Bets. College football Saturdays just got a whole lot better. Forget Vegas. Forget risking real money. This season, we're running our own league on Battle Bets. Here's how it works. Join our league. You get fake money to bet on the biggest games every week, and you track it all as you watch the action live. The best part, it's not just bragging rights. Our league has real prizes that are up for grabs. Stack points over the season. Prove you're the sharpest bettor. and take home the crown. It's free, it's fun, and it's built for college football fans just like us. So hop in now, join our Battle Bets League, and see what it's got. Fake money, real fun. All right, last weekend I went 6-4. You went 4-6. Brings us to a three win separation. I have 33. You have 30. We're both flirting right around 50%. Could be a big week for us. First game here. USF Friday night against North Texas. USF is a 1.5 favorite. Who are you taking?
Our friends at the 3 Tech Pod will be at this game on Friday night. Shout out to Mitch, Trey, and Garrett. North Texas is undefeated this year. They have not lost. They have not played it quite as difficult of a schedule as USF. USF has beaten an SEC team in Florida. However, North Texas has only been challenged really twice this year. And both of those times were on the road, and both those times they went to overtime, and both those times they won. So they've gone to overtime twice. Both have been on the road. Both times they've won. They are battle tested. Going to overtime is very difficult. Give me this North Texas team to get the job done at home against a very, very good USF team and kind of catapult themselves to be probably ranked 20th after this win. North Texas wins and covers, obviously.
So I'm going to take USF. I know this game is at North Texas. I'm taking USF here because they have played a difficult schedule or more difficult schedule and are a little more battle tested. You talk about Boise State at home. Even though Boise State may not be as good, they still are a solid program. You beat Florida. Florida's not great, but you win in the swamp. You win in a very hostile environment. You played against Miami, arguably the number 1 team in the country. You didn't quite get it done, but you played against the number 1 team in the country, or number 2, whatever they are at this point. I think USF is going to pull the upset. I really like Byron Brown. North Texas, to me, they have not played a difficult enough schedule yet. Maybe they can pull the upset, but I'm going to take the Bulls this week. I'm going to take Alex Golish to have his squad ready.
If
Second
USF
game here
wins this weekend, I think they're pretty much a lock to be the G6 team.
I would say that feels correct. Memphis is going to give them an absolute run for their money, though.
I forgot about Memphis.
So they play Memphis at Memphis a couple weeks from now. I believe it's the second to last week of October.
That'll be great.
They play at Memphis, which is going to be a difficult game. So even if they win this, I think Memphis is still the big fight ahead of them. This is the biggest G5 game this Friday, pending what happens. If North Texas wins, then Memphis and North Texas don't play, and North Texas has a really good chance to finish the season undefeated.
I also believe classes are canceled at North Texas on Friday, or maybe at least afternoon. I forgot what it was.
They are. I believe I saw they started canceling some classes so people can go to this game.
Love it.
Arizona State is a 5.5-point underdog at Utah. Who are you taking?
I'm giving Arizona State, and the biggest stat in this one is Arizona State has the 8th ranked rush defense. That's going to be vital when you're playing the Utes, who rely heavily on that rushing attack.
I'm going to take Arizona State as well. Jordan Tyson, to me, is just too good. Devin Dampier, I like what he is, but there's just a little too much inconsistency for me to fully buy in. I know what I'm getting with Arizona State. I'm going to take the points, and I'm going to take that 5.5, and I like Arizona State to cover there. BYU is a 1.5 underdog against Arizona this weekend. A bunch of Big 12 matchups that who knows how they're going to play out. You like Arizona, you like BYU?
I think this game's a trap. Why is BYU only a 1.5 favorite? Beyond me. This is a very, very good BYU team. That defense is phenomenal. Yes, Arizona can move the ball with anybody, but give me BYU to cover this one. I think this is going to be. I don't know. I think 1.5 is not enough points. Obviously,
Arizona's 4-1, so there's that. They got beat pretty good by Iowa State, but they've handled business every other way. Arizona's probably going to end up making a bowl game this year. I like BYU. This defense is legit.
Yes, the defense alone makes this a double-digit game, in my opinion.
The defense is legit, and Bear Bachmeier is doing enough, and I think he's getting more comfortable as the weeks go on. I'll take BYU here, even though it's on the road.
There must be an injury that we don't know about. I'll have to look into that.
LSU is a 9.5-point favorite at home against South Carolina. Like Lenore Sellers, you think Garrett Nussmeier's healthy finally?
Well, they got a week off, so that helps to get healthy. But LSU's just looked bad all around. They can't run the football. I think they're 52nd in the country in running the football. They're 120th in running the football.
Yeah, I was like, LSU's not good at running the football,
which is really, really bad. South Carolina's 117th, so they're not much better. However, South Carolina has had this game circled. Whether they want to say this out loud or not, because they got robbed last year in Williams-Brice. And Lenora Sellers kind of coming out party. He gets hurt in the first half. If Lenora Sellers is able to stay healthy, which I think he will, South Carolina covers, but I don't think they win. I think Garrett Nussmeier and that offense is enough to attack a pretty weak South Carolina defense, in my opinion. So give me South Carolina to cover, LSU to win.
I'm going to take LSU here. Not confident in this at all. LSU's played close games all season long, and I'm assuming this game is going to be close again. Obviously, we know what happened last year between the two. I'm not fully sold on either of these programs. To me, this is like a rock fight. LSU's ranked 11th. I'm not really sure if LSU is the 11th best team in the country. I believe in mine, I had LSU closer to like 15, 16 in my poll.
I think I'm 20.
And I am not a big LSU guy, but I think that they do enough. I think this game being at Death Valley is the difference for them. I have them to cover, but I mean, I'm talking about barely. 9.5, they might win by 10. So that's how confident I am in them. Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. Oklahoma plays Texas at the Cotton Bowl this weekend. Oklahoma is a 2.5-point underdog right now. Do you like Sooners?
There's too much going wrong with that Texas team right now. I don't think they're able to bounce back, especially in a game like this. I think Oklahoma might be able to jump on them early, and that defense is just going to be too much. It's going to force too many turnovers, too many mistakes on that Texas offense. Give me Oklahoma to cover. Brett Venables and the Sooners just keep rolling.
Yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover as well. I don't really care who's under center for them. Texas offense did not look good. The offensive line struggled. I think that Brent Venables defense is going to keep this a low-scoring game, and I think Oklahoma will do enough to pull out the win.
And you know what they say, Jake? Defense wins Chipotle games.
Defense does win the Chipotle games, and it wins you a free burrito bowl, apparently. There's definitely an NIL sponsorship to be had there, and Chipotle needs to maximize on that ASAP.
Let's do it.
They need to be like giving John Mateer like free Chipotle for like a year or something. Even though he probably makes millions, he can afford it anyways. It'd be great. Georgia is a 3.5-point underdog on the road at Auburn this weekend. Obviously, I said Auburn's going to win. I'm going to stick with the Tigers this weekend. Give War Eagle. Who you got?
I just don't like Jackson Arnold. I don't think. I think Auburn is too one-dimensional on offense, and it's going to cost them in this Georgia game. It could be close. Maybe Auburn covers but loses, but I think Georgia's able to. I think Georgia covers this one.
It wouldn't shock me if I lose because of the arm of Jackson Arnold. Wouldn't shock me at all.
It's tough to pick against the Bulldogs. I don't care who they're playing.
That is a very fair point. Michigan goes on the road to USC this weekend, and USC is a 2.5-point favorite.
My gut tells me to go with Michigan because USC struggles with physical teams. My gut is screaming at me right now saying, take Michigan, take Michigan, take Michigan. But my mind is just saying, but that USC team has the potential. I have to think if Lincoln Riley can't win this game, then it's the beginning of the end for him in LA. So give me USC.
I'm taking USC as well. One thing weird enough is Michigan has looked better when Sharon Moore was not the head coach so far this year. Like they looked better under Biff Poggi. This game against Wisconsin was a weird one. It was 24. It was 24-7 in the fourth quarter, but it was only 10-7 at halftime. Michigan, kind of struggled to move the ball at times. Wisconsin wasn't great. I think USC has way better playmakers. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. The question is, can USC stop the run? Can they stop Justice Haynes? Can they stop Jordan Marshall? And can Bryce Underwood make enough plays? I'm going to take USC to win this game, though. Ohio State is a 14.5-point favorite on the road at Illinois this weekend. We kind of talked about this already. I'm taking Ohio State to cover the 14.5. Ohio State's actually 5-0 against the spread so far this year. That defense has just been absolutely suffocating other teams. I think this game will be closer. It wouldn't shock me if this game is, 17-7 or 17-10 at halftime, similar to plenty of these other games. I mean, it could be less. It could be, 13-7 at halftime. And then Ohio State just finds a way to, drag it out and pull away in the second half. So I'll take Ohio State to cover the 14.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is how Ohio State team's rolling. Julian Sand is becoming better and better every week. Just last year, Ohio State fans wanted to fire Ryan Day. He's now one of their favorite coaches of all time. And what he's been doing with Julian Sand as a first-year starting quarterback is nothing to shrug over. I mean, he just a phenomenal job coaching. New OC, new DC. I mean, it's just like you add all the odds that they have to replace 20 people in the starting lineups. I mean, give me Ohio State.
I'll make this point, and I'm not making the comparison, but Nick Saban had these issues. I don't want to say issues, but he had offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators leave every year. However many guys enter the draft early, 10, 12 guys enter the draft early, seniors graduate, and continued to have success. Obviously, this is a very, very, very small sample size. We're talking about, 2 years so far. But that kind of success is how you build dynasties. I don't think Ohio State is quite at a dynasty. They're a one-time defending champion, and the last championship was a decade ago. But Ryan Day seems to have found a recipe that works so far for him. Alabama is a 2.5-point favorite on the road at Missouri. We talked about this game already. I'm taking Alabama in this game. It's going to be close, but I'll take the Tide.
Give me Missouri. Give me the team that I got to pick the keys for the games. Give me that defense. Give me Bo Prabula to really just take that big step forward against Alabama.
Will it hurt Penn State fans if they watch Bo Prabula beat Alabama?
Absolutely. They'll be miserable. Miserable.
I think so too. Finally, the biggest game of the week, Indiana is going to Oregon. Oregon's a 7.5-point favorite here. Who you like?
There's 3 games out of these 10 that I'm really trying to zig or my brain wants me to zag. And that's North Texas, that's USC, and that's this one with Indiana. Do I think Indiana can do it? Absolutely. Am I picking Indiana to do it? Yes. But buddy, my brain is saying, stop it. The red alarms are going off. Everything's freaking out. But I have to stick with it. I have to stick with Indiana. Give me my 2 choosers. I bailed on them super early in the preseason, in fact. I was not high on Fernando Mendoza. I tried to bash him a little bit a couple weeks ago. I got to ride with the Hoosiers. I got to ride with them. I'm not getting off that train now.
I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks there. I think Oregon, you get a week off. After that, you get a chance to come back down to earth. You're hosting Indiana. Indiana has not played in an environment like this year, and it's going to be loud. Oregon's going to be ready. You're not going to catch them off guard. This isn't Indiana, last year where all of a sudden they're 4-0, 5-0. People didn't really know what to expect. They know what's coming. And I think they're going to be ready. Give me the Ducks. That does it for our Walk On Weekly 10, sponsored by BattleBets. Make sure to go and check out BattleBets. Go sign up. Make sure to click Walk On Red Shirts as your referral. With that being said, that's our preview and our recap for this past week. We'll be back again next week. If you aren't doing so already, subscribe to the podcast. Give us a rate. Give us 5 stars, whatever you think. If you like the podcast and you want a sticker, we've got 5-star listener stickers we can get out to you. Go check out the walkonredshirts.com. You can find us on social media at Walk On Red Shirts on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Wherever you get your social media content, we are there. You can make sure you can follow Moose at Twitter on Walk On Moose. Go catch all of his content, Clemson content, college football content, whatever you guys like to listen to. With that being said, we will be back next week. Everybody go enjoy a very loaded Week 7 slate.
Have a week.